Listen to this. This is what Joel Embiid had said. Like I've been saying since the season started, I'm happy whoever wants to play is welcome. If someone wants to play, they're welcome. But we've got guys who want to be here that show up every single night. I don't know what other type of word I can use, but I get paid to get results and to win games. I don't get paid to babysit Tyrese Maxey. I get paid to challenge him and to try to help him win games and have him help me win games. So translation, and you can see the rest of the quote right there. And I'll leave it up for a second. Translation, if Ben wants to come back, I got to play by my rules. He's got to play by Joel Embiid's rules. If you want to come back, then I'm going to be the same guy I've been all season, the same guy I've been throughout my career. That's the guy taking responsibility for how good this team can be. Because I know we all jumped to this and we got into it yesterday on yesterday's show. When it comes to Joel Embiid and what he had to say about Ben Simmons after they lost to the Hawks in the playoffs, he not only talked about Ben Simmons, and that was the turning point of the game. He talked about Matisse Thybulle missing a free throw. He talked about his own turnovers. He talked about how he wasn't healthy and all that other stuff. Like, it wasn't just about everybody else. It was also about him. He made it about him in terms of not just how great he is, but also the mistakes that he made in that series. And as I mentioned, 16 turnovers in the last 2 games of that series, that's not something that he could shy away from. That's something that he's got to own, he's got to acknowledge, and he did. Everybody needs to be held accountable. So, Ben, if you do want to come back, realize that's what you're going to be coming back to. Now, if you're asking me whether or not Ben Simmons is ever going to play for the 76ers again, my answer is nope. A very emphatic, very confident nope, and that shouldn't be breaking news to anybody. But I find it interesting that the groundwork, the pavement, is being laid in the event that Ben Simmons does, in fact, come back to the Sixers. If he is here after the trade deadline, which I still very much think he will be, if he is here, it's open. It's open for discussion. Now, he wouldn't be getting the best version of Ben Simmons as he would be coming back to a team after he needs to get in official game shape, and it would be just in time for a playoff run. And we all know in the playoffs, Ben Simmons, not so good. Not so good. But I think it would help his trade stock. It would certainly help the Sixers out a lot at this point. But let's get into some of those trade things before we get into the game itself last night, because I know that's what's on everybody's mind. Unfortunately, they lost to the Suns, as I mentioned. But Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson, the Sacramento Kings take the Indiana Pacers deal and get Justin Holiday as well as Domantas Sabonis in return for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. The Kings liked what the Pacers had more than what the Sixers had with Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris or anybody, really. They liked what the Pacers were offering more so than the Sixers. I don't know what the Kings are doing, but every year they just seem to blow themselves up, and I'm fine with that. But I'm more fine with that when it's like Sam Hinkie fleecing Vlade Divac. And unfortunately, those days are very much over. But that was the deal. So as everybody knows by now, that deal is no longer on the table for the Sixers. We knew the Sixers weren't really in the running for that anyway for the last couple of weeks. So that's where we are right now. CJ McCollum off the table. Yesterday goes to the Pelicans. They have some kind of crazy deal going on. Josh Hart then goes to the Portland, and you have the CJ McCollum going to the Pelicans. So they're just trying to get shooters galore with guys like Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. So that's their deal. CJ McCollum no longer available. And my number one guy, simply because I thought you were going to be able to get the most even value, guy for guy, if you will, Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal and other things mixed in. Not happening. Bradley Beal now done for the season, getting the surgery. He will no longer play. So obviously the Sixers are not going to be trading for him anytime soon. So now where does that leave us? That leaves us right now going, James Harden, please, sir, please come to Philadelphia. I just don't see it. I'd love for it to happen. I just don't see it. Especially if the deal is Simmons and Curry for James Harden. Then how was that not already done, as I was saying yesterday? I'm still very much on that kick. Now, James Harden missed his 3rd straight game last night with that bad hammy. Interesting. The Nets lost their 9th straight game last night to the Celtics. Interesting. Matisse Thybulle did play last night, and he started for the Sixers. And I know some people were speculating that him not playing because of the shoulder injury was somehow connected to James Harden also not playing. Could Matisse Thybulle also be in the mix with the James Harden deal? Possible. But he did play last night. Matisse Thybulle played last night. Started for the Sixers, as a matter of fact. So that's where we're at right now. As far as any idea with James Harden, we're still waiting to see if that gets worked out. The two sides, according to Brian Windhorst, it's very much out in the open. It's very much being discussed right now, but it's not at the point where anything looks imminent, unfortunately, for the Sixers. Now, where does that leave us in terms of who could be coming into the 76ers? Well, a bunch of names that are not going to impress you. A bunch of George Hill-esque names. And Daryl Morey's already on record by acknowledging that the George Hill deal to leave the second unit off the bench last year did not exactly work for the Sixers, and that is not really earth-shattering to any 76ers fan that followed that deal and followed how it actually worked. At the time, you're like, all right, point guard off the bench, you're on the second unit, good to go. Didn't work. But this time around, you're going to be looking at names, and this is just from what I gathered from other people's reports and all that stuff. Ty Jerome, guard out of OKC, chance to come to Philadelphia, bench player. Corey Joseph, guard with the Pistons right now, 30-year-old veteran, another bench guy, could come off the bench to help you run your second unit in the event that Tyrese Maxey is not available to play, all 48 minutes of a game, which we all know he's not. So that's what we're looking at right now, outside of anything James Harden. So, whoop-de-doo. That's where we're at. There's other options out there, but those are the two most common names I've been seeing. Daryl Morey, the ball is in your court.